10. How much do you want to get involved? At least stand up, maybe? Okay, about Bill. So actually, just to catch up with time, I'm just going to introduce you as Bill Beaney, and we go from there.
Thank you.
Big
Thank
hand,
you.
guys.
Thank you. First of all, I think I'm going to have to find somebody that will talk to me for the next few days, because I'm not sure that my wife will. But thank you for that. Is this at the laser? Perfect. Okay. It's great to get back here. It's been a long time since I've been to the World Championship, and I think the best thing about it is when hockey guys and gals get together, there's a lot of great conversation. And I'll start it off by simply saying that for when I talk to my class at school, I tell them that if you're really into it, if you're really engaged, you'll learn a lot more from each other than you will from the teacher, and I totally believe that. And the conversations I've had the last few days have been wonderful with all of you, and so I thank you for that. So when we first started coming over here and I was working with some of the U.S. teams, the systems of play, if you will, were very structured, and it is 2-1-2s, it's 1-3-1s, and it was very individually responsible. So think about that, because I don't know if you know the people next to you now, but you're going to know them a little bit, because we're going to do a couple of exercises as we move on. But very structured in that way, individual. So I'd like to have you think a bit about how we could change the idea of systems from being individually responsible to perhaps developing and having players developing an understanding of space that needs to be defended, and of space that needs to be attacked, that can be attacked. And why would we do that versus the individual responsibility? And I think it comes back to the point that everybody is well aware of, is how fast the game has gotten, how skilled the players have gotten. And I'll throw one other ingredient into that without spending too much time on, is I think the equipment. You think of the way the game's played today with the number of block shots and the equipment that players have. So things have to change. So for me, and I've got a little bit of a cheat sheet here because I really would love to have you be engaged. I'm going to challenge you to think on this, and that's these players, as they're recognizing the space that needs to be attacked, they're continually shifting, they're continually adapting. And you might be sitting there saying, well, how are you going to teach that? You're probably not. What you're going to do is you're going to help them learn how to do it. You're going to empower them to learn how to see the ice, how to read and react through communication, through effort, through timing and experiences. And why? Because I think that the skill level of the players, if they're free to play, it's just an incredible product. They're able to use their intuition, they're able to improvise, they're really able to capture the moments of the game. And that's really where I'm going, to encourage you to allow your players to totally be interchangeable in the course of the game. And we've got some clips on that will work. So how do we get them to understand that? I want you to bear with me on this. This is a clip from, anybody ever see the movie La La Land? Okay, so it's about jazz music. I want you to listen, it's a short one, listen to what he's saying to his girlfriend and relate it to hockey. Oh.
No, I just think that people, when they say that they, hate jazz, they don't have context. They don't know where it comes from. Jazz was born in a little flop house in New Orleans, and it's just because people were crammed in there. They spoke 5 different languages. They couldn't talk to each other. The only way they could communicate was with jazz. That's the okay. So I think that that's part of the problem is that you can't hear it. You have to see it. You have to see what's at stake. I mean, look at this. Look at the sax player right now. He just hijacked the song. He's on his own trip. Every one of these guys is composing, they're rearranging, they're writing, and they're playing the melody. They're just, and now the trumpet player, he's got his own idea. And so it's conflict, and it's compromise, and it's new every time. It's brand new every night. It's very, very exciting.
So, is that hockey? How does it relate to this? No music on this one, but with thinking about that, rearranging, think about composing, think about conflict, think about new leaders hijacking the song. And now, this might be a stretch, and you can comment on that and let me know if it is, but here's a short clip. Just watch the movement of the blues players and appreciate why I picked the blues in context with jazz. You have players cycling in, cycling out, defensemen going down below the hash marks, numbers around the puck, and really total interchangeability of the players. I don't know if it resonates or not, but that's really where I'm going in today's conversation. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can help players get comfortable enough, being able to see the ice, see the spaces that need to be attacked, and to really give them ownership of the game. Okay, so if you look at these, how did the musicians in the blues, how did they recognize those critical moments of the defenseman going down, of the trumpet player playing? And so recognize and respond to the moments of the game. If you read down through those, I'd like to have you take about 45 seconds. And if there's someone sitting around you or a couple of people that you don't know, I want you to answer these questions. I want you to answer the question, how our team plays. Fast, outnumbering, however. And what you use as a context, or players how many times during a game do players self-organize themselves? Go ahead, you got 45 seconds, talk to each other. I'm quiet for 45 seconds, go. Engage with each other. Yeah, I know. Yes. I hope that you were able to pick something up from the person that you were sitting next to. I hope you took a risk and talked to somebody that you didn't know before. Because again, that's the way we're going to learn. But the value of play, the value of being able to recognize and adjust is so key, and to see those patterns of play. So the next one. What's that? That's day one of organized sports. First day, okay? And it talks about, is he playing the game? Is he going into practice to learn how to play? He's probably not. But if you create a situation where he can play, he will learn. And he'll also dream. His grandfather grew up in Lake Placid and knows that dreams do come true. And so it's about play. any of you that aren't from the States may not have heard of this guy, Mr. Rogers, if you will. But he had a TV show for a number of years, and the value of play. And certainly, my point being, play is a strategy for learning at any age. At any age. I love the comment. Learning through play. And here's going to be another chance for you to talk to somebody different or a couple of people different in this. Learning through play. Coming across this, Ubuntu, okay, talking about the play ownership, curiosity, and enjoyment. You've got the one from Denmark.
It put me in the NHL. And I don't mean to demean any city or any team or any coach, because I was very fortunate. I had good coaching, I had good players that I played with and against. But the crucial time, I feel, the time that I had to learn from little wee things, like how to take a pass, how to make a pass, how to shoot, how to skate backwards. All those things that you see some kids at the age of 12 and 13 can't do properly now because they're being taught other things and not the basics. And I learned all that before I even started hockey. I think the backyard was, no question, put me where I am today. And I think that all the players that grew up, if you ask them, I think they'll say, boy, the most fun I ever had in hockey was when we had 6 guys and we went and played pond hockey, and you guys were the Maple Leafs and we were the Canadians. And the scores were 17-16. That was hockey.
That was for my new friend Jimmy from Sweden, who talked to me last night about defense and the value of defense. Okay, take 30 seconds and your group come up with 3 words you would use to describe a pond hockey attitude. Because of time, I don't usually like to do it this way, but I will. So, did any of the groups have the word freedom? Any of the groups? Any groups not have it? If you didn't, you should have. Period. I think there's a direct correlation between freedom and skill. And if you think about that, you can look at it in just people out playing pickup hockey, and their skill level looks unbelievable. First day of practice, the coach is on the ice, and you ask yourself, why did I recruit these guys? They can't handle the puck. They don't know how to make a play. Or to use the similar golf analogy that Dan did, how many of you can take your swing from the driving range to the golf course without a problem? It's freedom. The second word I would throw out, and I would ask if you had it, how about unstructured? Or something close to that. Unstructured. It's what I think of with a pond hockey attitude. And the third one is unhurried. And as Ken Dryden, the famous goaltender, would say, it's that time alone. It's a time with a small group that's unstructured, that is the incubator of creativity and greatness. And he refers to so many of the great players he played with that just went out and learned on their own. Pond hockey attitude. Practice goals. So we're going to move into how can we translate some of these pond hockey skills or attitudes into our practices, and you as a coach. I was told reading the PowerPoint is death, so I'm not going to read it, but you can. Don't allow for textbook answers either when you ask a question. Make that player, or get that player to learn how to understand it. I like this quote that I came across. I don't know who Professor Daniel Gopher is. I apologize for that. But and so these are practice goals we feel as though we target every day, because we want to make it sticky. We want them to take something away from it other than just showing up, getting a sweat in, yucking it up with their friends. Practice goals. Okay, a couple of other thoughts here. This quote is I came across, logic will get you from A to Z, and I think that's the details. But can we instill in our players to have an imagination, to really break down barriers? Who perhaps taught Johnny Gaudreau to shoot the puck from the goal line and bank it off the goalie's ear and into the net? Having an imagination, being able to see the game the way others perhaps don't. The one part of this that I like, make the unpredictable moment predictable. Whether we structure it, or the players learn how to recognize those situations and predict those situations, or as Dan mentioned, Marty St. Louis reading the play. Feel and flexibility. And the way we run our practices, whether we run them directly and giving them the answers, or whether we ask the questions, will have a direct impact on how much ownership they take in the process. Learn to ask good questions, and I hope that you'll come away with more questions from today than you do answers. So, the next one now, we have to have a plan of attack. We have to have a shared plan of attack, okay, some type of a system. So this is going to be a reach for somebody, and I see a lot of you taking screenshots of this. If you're taking a screenshot of anything, take it of this one, because I think that, and it's one way to organize your play. This is your system, okay? I'm looking just at the just at this middle group right here, okay? Puck carrier, and now you're second, third, or fourth, or fifth. Why did I put the two different systems, if you will, out there? Because we all learn differently. So what I've used for probably the last 20 years in my coaching is our system of play was called PSB. Okay, so as a player, you knew that if you were on offense, you were either the puck carrier, you were supporting the puck carrier, or you were the balance player. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Well, how do they know where to go? We're going to work on that over the course of practice. And defensively, we know we're going to pressure. We're going to support that pressure. How close do I support the guy pressuring the puck? Are we using two men on the puck? What situations can you create in practice so that your players will actually understand what position they're in, either as a pressure player, a support player, or a balance player? As I'm looking at the group, 10% roughly, I think are all in, and they kind of like this. About 40% are saying there's no way. I got to have a lot more structure than that. I'm hoping to turn that other 50% into understanding this is such an empowering approach, system, if you will, to your players. And there's a couple of clips that go along with this, and I'm going to have you talk about it a little bit later within your group. The last thing I'll say before I take this thing off is that every time you play a game, there's two things that are happening. It's double teaching, it's offense, it's defense, and it's people recognizing the play. So towards that end, points of emphasis, positional interchangeability. Okay, so tying this together within that system, PSB, or Rules of Hockey. Okay, here's a clip again from the Blues, and what I'm going to ask you to watch is the total interchangeability of the players, where their defensemen are, where their forwards are, and especially at the end of the clip, watch the way that the forward is now in a defenseman's position, coming back on the back check, making a 2-on-1 into a 2-on-2. Okay? There's no sound to it. And while you're watching this, look at the clock up top. There's 15 minutes left in overtime in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. And watch now, defenseman makes a pass to the corner, little takeover. Out front, he rotates back out, forward comes down. Defenseman pressured, and now you got the forward coming back on the back check. Total interchangeability of the players in Game 7, overtime, Stanley Cup. Tell me what system that is. Okay, interchangeability of players. And I don't know, this is the first round draft pick last year from the New York Rangers. Actually, number 74. It's a 4-on-4 situation in his league in Russia where he played this year. Okay, possession. Sorry about this video. Pretty interesting interchange, all on support. When do you know if you're how to support the player? You're recognizing those spaces. Next one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop that. So I do this often. You can tell. So the 4 rules of transition. Take a peek here as I roll through these because I don't want to take much time with them, and see if you can figure out who the pressure, who the I know you'll all pick out the puck carrier, but the support player, the balance player, and see if you can put yourself in that mindset. Okay.
15 feet in it. He was flat-footed to Joel off the pass off the ball. Now Wheeler taken away by.
Watch Vegas and how they're defending. Winnipeg on the support.
15 feet in it. He was flat-footed to Joel off the pass off the ball. Now Wheeler taken away by.
Okay, same one. Puck carrier, support, balance.
15 feet in it. He was flat.
Okay. I've got it. Okay, so now we're going to come into the games and how we can help players understand exactly how to get into these particular positions. There's thousands of games out here, and I met for the first time a gentleman. I don't see him here. I wonder if is Tom Malloy here? Tom here? Hey, hi Tom. And Tom has been doing games for 1,000 years, and I know he's a big believer in using games to teach. I think a lot of you perhaps will use games in your practices as a reward, as a conditioning, and what have you. What I'm here to say is to encourage you to be able to use these games to teach this style of play, to give ownership to these highly skilled players. So if you take a look at this game, it's pretty self-explanatory with the fact that the O's are attacking in that direction. Obviously, the X's are going in this direction. So what have you set up? What part of your game plan, or of your system, if you will, or of your concepts of play, have you just set up here? You probably set up a breakout situation here. You set up a situation where the forward in the offensive half has got to work to get open. And so what can you build off of this game? Do you have the offensive players, can they carry it across the midline? And if this 0-3 carries it across the midline, what does it force the defenders to do? It forces them to adjust, to adapt to the situation. 0-1's responsibility, when these guys have it, what's his position? Is he a support guy, or is he a balance guy? Probably both. But so now you're creating a situation where carried it across, or he passes it across. It becomes a 2-on-2 on the opposite side until the X's win the puck, and then one O player has to go back. But there's another interesting situation. Which player goes back? Is it the same one? Does 0-3 continue to come back into the defensive end? Somebody give me an answer to that? Which one? Anybody? Depends on what? Well, give me who decides? The players decide, but is it better for 0-3 to come back or for 0-1 to come back? And what determines that?
0-3 carries, then 0-1 is probably going to be the first shot.
Because?
Well, because 0-3 is on the offense, 0-1 is support or balance, whatever you have. And so he's the one that goes back.
So he's in a better position to defend earlier, absolutely, yeah. Or depending upon who's closest to pressure the puck. And those are the discussions that I would challenge you to have with your players, so that they can understand what is going on in terms of supporting a puck. And there's a lot of these. I'm not sure that we'll get through them all, but we're looking for spontaneity, we're looking for improvisation, we're looking for people to make chaotic situations. What? Predictable. I want to read one quote here that I've got. Allow players to figure it out, to learn their limits, their strengths. Have consequences with your game. Okay? Why are we doing it in slides? Because I want all of you guys to be able to move these players around. I don't know if you came prepared to have to think in this way, but I hope that you will. The solutions come from the players, not from the coach. Another one that you've used, it's the same kind of a drill. It's a transition drill. I'm getting there. Is with this one here. So you've got one X. I guess out getting a loose puck. I'm not sure how he got out there, but anyway. So you've got 4 versus 2 here. When the O's win it, it's immediately passed across, and the O's try to score on this net. 2 of the X's transition across. What are you doing? You're forcing players to make decisions. You're forcing players to make decisions all the time on how they're supporting a puck and making a play. Four versus 2 plus 2. And how would you change this? How would you change this if it dawned on you that a lot of goals were scored after the puck went behind the goal? What rule might you put in to this particular game that would give you practice, give you opportunity for your players to recognize how to support a puck and how to make a play from behind the net? What would it be?
Policies must come from behind the net.
That's right. So if this, let's say this all gets it, you got to carry it behind the net before you can score a goal. It's a simple. So encouraging you to create these games that are going to help your players grow. The next one is another 3-on-3 one, but you move the net. So the game has changed a little with the nets back to back. You still got play from behind the net. But even one player stays in the offensive zone. What's that creating? Odd numbers. They're able to recognize, and so you're on a little mini power play. You're on a penalty kill. But you're creating those situations where they're going to recognize, as long as you framed it accordingly. The next point of emphasis: puck possession. Okay. And this is a game that I'm sure a lot of you have played. It can be played with 3 pucks, down to 2, to 1. You've got your goals here, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Down to 1 puck forces players to work. I especially like, and it's worked out well in the past, add a floating goalie and you can't score in the goal that he's in. And it forces your players to have their heads up even more. There's 1,000 of them, and I would encourage you, if you have some of these games that have worked really well, to make sure and put them out there and share them with people, because it's honestly the way to go. We spend probably 80% of our practices on playing some sorts of games. This one here on a puck possession, okay, is an interesting one, and the way it's written here is not an easy one to be successful at. So essentially, you've made up a quadrant out of your end zone. So 3 passes in any one of these zones. So think about what you're encouraging. Forcing players to recognize the pressure, how to support, good stick position, get the defender on your hip, show a stick. What I would suggest, and it's not here, but what I would suggest is I would start with let's say a 4 versus 3 in here, and have your fourth X or O out here by the blue line. And if the defensive group of 3 win a puck, they transition it to their 4th player out here. That player comes in, and one of the original 4 goes out. It's just awfully hard to be successful with it. It's about puck possession. This one's an interesting one, and I'm going to have you talk about it with each other. But what you've set up here is 4 versus 2 inside the house, inside the prime scoring area, if you will. And now you've got the four support players on the outside. And what their goal is to get a puck through, or get a puck to one of the 2 players in the middle and get it out. So initially they're not scoring goals. Initially, what they're doing is they're possessing a puck. You can see where this is going to lead to. And when you think about how goals are scored today, and I've got a quick clip on that I'm going to show you, because we came up with this after recognizing the number of times that goals are scored when the puck is passed across the midline of the rink. And then you can add a bunch more. You got a second goal here. You can work on your power play, etc. Usually you have one of the defenders pressure the puck, and the other three are defending the box area, the prime scoring area. Okay, scoring goals. This is, I don't know if any of you know him, some of you I'm sure do, Steve Valenket. Steve Valenket works in New York and works a bit with the Rangers and puts a bunch of these out, videos out, and this one was especially a good one.
Expected goals are goals that can be expected to score based on how and where a shot is taken, factoring in game situation and game strength. We take those 4 factors, put them together, and we're going to find out how goals are scored in the NHL. We all know that a shot a stick length from the crease is more likely to go in than a shot from outside the tops of the circles. Similarly, a shot taken after a pass is received is much more likely to go in than a shot taken from the exact same location without a pass. However, we're only halfway there at that point of the analysis. We still need to factor in the game situation and the game strength. The game situation refers to the sequence that advances the player or players towards the opponent's net. Shots taken on an odd man rush are the most valuable, followed by zone entry shots, in-zone settled offense shots, and shots that come directly off of a face-off. Now, game strength is properly splitting up power play shots from even strength shots. For instance, CSA knows a breakaway goes in 1 every 3 shots. 2-on-1 off the rush at even strength is going to go in 1 every 4 shots. And when the puck carrier gets to the right side of the slot, in this exact location as Brock Nelson is here, the shooter's chance of scoring is 18%, which is per shot type. Now let's not forget that plenty of high danger shots happen from outside the house or home plate as well. I mean, look at some of these beauties. Expected goals is a metric which assesses every shot on goal, answering the question of whether a player should have scored on a certain opportunity or not. Put simply, it is a way of assigning a quality value to every shot based on what we know about it. For example, this relatively easy tap-in by Leo Komarov is worth 0.46 expected goals, which means that a shot like that one goes in 46% of the time. Conversely, this shot by Kevin Hayes was only worth 0.2 expected goals because that shot has only a 2% chance of going in. Put another way, a shot from there only goes in twice for every 100 times it is tried.
Okay. He does great stuff, and this was very illuminating to me when I saw it. So towards that end, can you create or recreate those situations in practice to make your players comfortable enough to be able to execute under pressure? That becomes another game. Scoring goals, 2v2 with supports. I would. You can put your supports anywhere you want. You can have any number you want, but you're creating a specific situation that you want. So on this one here, as you've had a chance to look at it, I'm going to ask you this question. Think about what we just watched, and if you said to your players, there's a vertical midline down the ice. Okay, imaginary vertical midline. What would you be encouraging to happen happen if you put a vertical midline down the ice and you said the puck has to cross the vertical midline before you can score a goal? Thinking back to the video you just saw. Somebody again, what's that?
An increased scoring chance.
Okay, and why would it be an increased scoring chance?
Because it's goals went up the pass more likely.
Yeah. A much higher percentage of goals are scored off a pass that goes across the midline and a shot is taken. That's a vertical midline. You can add that to it, and that's what I'm encouraging you to try to do. You can put the number of touches on the puck. If you really want to get it going fast, we want our teams to play fast. Well, how are you going to encourage them to play fast? You're going to overload them. And you might overload them by forcing them to play 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. Another game, the net's in a little bit of a different position, okay? You're creating all kinds of different angles to score goals. And this one I happen to say that you could score on either goal. And that's adding to the whole challenge, because you're creating all kinds of different angles. You're creating angles in turn for defenders to have to take. You've got to get your stick in position defensively, offensively. You're recognizing situations, and you're forcing players to be creative. The players will have a difficult time with this one initially, but if you ask them the right questions, they will grow exponentially from it. Okay. Too loud. Did they show all of them or not? Or are we just going? Some great goal scoring. The last thing I'll say is that as I wrap it up, engage your players in practice. Encourage them to take ownership. Your system should be as simple as possible, as long as you're willing to train them to recognize the situations that occur during the course of a game and to work with them. Thank you.
Okay. If it's Ovechkin, he's converging as he's shooting. Okay. If it's Line A, he's converging. Pavelski's converging. You know, you watch Kevin LeBanc on San Jose, in San Jose's power, they converge. Okay. So the best power plays converge. And when you look at the best power plays and you struggle with your own power plays, the best power plays, each individual knows his role. And it's not rocket science, but they know their role. Pavelski knows his job is the front of the net. corner, recovering pucks, banging in rebounds, and he thrives on it. So, you know, your shooters, everybody wants to be the goal scorer or the shooter, but the best power plays have 5 guys that know their role, okay? It's your job as a coach to help them understand their role and to convince them of their role, to convince them of the importance of the role, okay? Because proper power.
Well, my question was, do you have any specific stats on directly shots to be successful?
I don't. I'm not a stats guy because I watch so much film that you start seeing the patterns yourself. I would say the dangerous shots are when the D gets inside F1 and F2 and throws it to the net.
300 people to Judy. Happy birthday in your own language. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounded awful. Also from all of us, nothing better than a minute chocolate advice. So happy birthday, Judy. Thank you guys. So Judy told Bill this morning that you don't mention anything. You don't mention my birthday. So now he made me mention it. So.